I didn't scream when I found the divorce papers in my mailbox. I didn't cry when I saw the forged signature, my name, twisted into something I didn't recognize. But the moment I read the line, petitioner, Evelyn Moore, respondent, Marcus Langley, and realized Marcus had filed for divorce from me, using my identity. That's when my blood turned to ice, because Marcus wasn't my husband. He was my boyfriend of 3 years. And now, thanks to a stack of falsified documents and a judge in Reno, Nevada, I was legally married to a man I never agreed to wed. And just as legally, divorced from him, with half my life signed away. But to understand how I, Evelyn Moore, 68 years old, let a charming stranger weave me into his web of lies, I need to go back to the beginning, to the quiet desperation that made me believe love at my age was a miracle, not a trap. It was March 12th, 2025, my 68th birthday. Rain fell in soft sheets over Portland, Oregon, blurring the cherry blossoms in my front yard into pink watercolors. I'd baked a small lemon cake, just for me, and lit one candle, whispering, "Make this year count, Evie." Then the mail came. Among the pharmacy flyers and Social Security notices was a thick manila envelope from the Washoe County Family Court, Nevada. No return address, just my name, Evelyn R. Moore. I opened it with flour-dusted fingers. Inside, a final decree of divorce, a marriage certificate dated October 17th, 2023, a property settlement agreement, and a bank statement showing $42,800 transferred from my retirement account to an account in Marcus Langley's name. My knees buckled. I gripped the kitchen counter, the scent of lemon and rain suddenly suffocating. October 17th, 2023, the day Marcus took me to that romantic weekend in Reno. He'd said it was to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. We stayed at a quiet hotel off the strip. He'd poured champagne, played jazz, held my hand as we watched the sunset over the desert. What I didn't know, while I slept, he'd driven to a courthouse 12 miles away and married me in my sleep. Then 16 months later, he'd divorced me, without my knowledge, without my consent, and walked away with nearly half my savings. I stared at the marriage certificate. There was my name, my Social Security number. How did he even get that? And a signature that looked like mine, but wasn't. My stomach dropped like a stone in a well, because now I understood. Marcus never loved me. He needed a widow with clean credit, no children, and $87,000 in retirement funds. And I'd handed him the keys to my life on a silver platter. I sank to the floor, the cake forgotten, the candle burning low. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, something shattered. And in that silence, a new voice rose, cold, clear, and furious. You will not erase me. Before Marcus, my life was quiet, but not empty. I lived in a modest bungalow on S.E. Hawthorne Boulevard, inherited from my parents in 1998. The house smelled of beeswax, Earl Grey tea, and the lavender sachets I tucked into every drawer. My garden bloomed with peonies in spring and rosemary year-round. Every Tuesday, I volunteered at the Multnomah County Library, reading to preschoolers. They called me Miss Evie, and I kept butterscotch candies in my apron pocket, just like I did when I taught kindergarten for 34 years. My husband Thomas died in 2016, pancreatic cancer, swift and brutal. We'd been married 41 years, no children, just us, our books, our walks in Forest Park, and a love that never needed grand gestures. When he died, I didn't collapse. I folded his flannel shirts, donated his tools, and kept his favorite coffee mug on the shelf, empty, but present. For 7 years, I was fine, not happy, not sad, just still. Then, in August 2022, I met Marcus at the Saturday Farmers Market. He was buying heirloom tomatoes. I was picking basil. He smiled, warm, crinkling the corners of his hazel eyes, and said, "You've got dirt on your nose." I laughed. No one had noticed me in years. He told me he was a retired architect, recently widowed, new to Portland. He spoke softly, listened intently, remembered I took my tea with honey, not sugar. Within weeks, he was bringing me wildflowers, walking me home, calling just to say, "Saw a cardinal today, reminded me of your red scarf." I told myself, at 66, this is a gift. I ignored the small things. How he always paid in cash, never showed a wallet. How he changed the subject when I asked about his late wife. How he forgot his phone once, and I saw a text from Jen that said, "Did you get the docs signed?" But loneliness is a powerful drug, and Marcus was the antidote I craved. By January 2023, he was staying over 2 nights a week. He fixed my leaky faucet, repainted the porch, called me my Evie, in a voice that made my bones hum. In May, he proposed, not with a ring, but with a promise. "Let's build something real. No rush. Just us." I said yes. Not to marriage, but to hope. The first red flag I couldn't ignore came in July 2023. I found a receipt in his coat pocket. $1 and $200 for a background check service. When I asked, he laughed. "Just verifying my own credit, darling. Identity theft is everywhere." I believed him. Then, in September, he asked for my Social Security card. "My accountant needs it for a joint tax prep," he said. "Just for planning." I hesitated. He kissed my forehead. "Trust me, Evie. I'm protecting us." I gave it to him. 2 weeks later, he suggested a weekend in Reno. Just us, no distractions, a fresh start. I packed my blue suitcase, the one Thomas and I used for our 40th anniversary trip to Hawaii. We drove in his silver Subaru. He played Sinatra, held my hand. At the hotel, he ordered room service, steak for him, salmon for me. After dinner, he poured 2 glasses of champagne. "To us," he said, eyes glistening. I drank, felt warm, safe, loved. I fell asleep around 10 p.m., woke at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. Marcus was gone. I found him in the car, typing furiously on his laptop, the glow illuminating his face. "What are you doing?" I asked, shivering in my nightgown. "Work email," he said quickly, shutting the lid. "Go back to sleep, sweetheart." I did. I never saw the courthouse, never signed a document, never said "I do." But somewhere in the dead of that Nevada night, Marcus Langley married Evelyn Moore and began the slow theft of everything I'd built alone. After Reno, Marcus changed. Subtly at first, like a shadow lengthening at dusk. He started helping with my finances. "You're not tech-savvy, Evie," he'd say gently. "Let me set up online banking for you." I gave him my login, then my password, then my debit card, for emergencies. October 2023, he accidentally overdrew my checking account by $800. "I'll pay it back next week," he promised. He never did. December 2023, he asked to borrow $3,000. "My pension check is delayed," he said, voice tight with stress, "just until January." I transferred it from my savings. January came, no repayment. February 2024, he suggested I diversify my retirement. "I know a guy," he said. "Low risk, high return. We could double your money in a year." I hesitated. He kissed my hand. "I only want what's best for us." I liquidated $15,000 from my IRA, gave him the check. 2 months later, the investment firm vanished. Marcus shrugged. "Scams happen, Evie. At least we tried." Each time his tone was the same, concerned, protective, loving. But his actions told a different story. He began isolating me. When my friend Carol invited me to her book club, Marcus said, "Those women gossip. You don't need that negativity." When I mentioned visiting my sister in Seattle, he frowned. "It's so far. What if something happens to you alone on the road?" Slowly, my world shrank to our 2 houses, his, which I'd never seen, and mine. He also started managing my identity. "You should let me handle your mail," he said. "Less stress for you." I agreed. Soon he was opening every envelope, tossing some, filing others. I stopped noticing. April 2024. He asked for my birth certificate. "For the marriage license," he said casually. I blinked. "Marriage license?" He smiled. "Surprise. I want to make it official, Evie. Properly." My heart fluttered. I gave him the document, but no wedding followed. No ring. No ceremony. Just more requests. June 2024. "Can I use your car for a job interview?" He never returned it. Said it got towed. I paid $200 to retrieve it. The next week, it broke down. He had to sell it for parts. I never saw the money. August 2024. He needed $7,500 for medical bills. His heart condition, he said. I took a loan against my home equity, paid it. Later, I saw him at the gym, lifting weights, laughing with a woman half his age. I told myself, he's under stress. He loves me. But the numbers didn't lie. By January 2025, I'd given him $3,000 personal loan, $15,000 fake investment, $7,500 medical scam, $1,200 car towing, $4,100 miscellaneous emergencies. Total $30,800, and my retirement account dropped from $87,000 to $44,200. I stopped asking questions, stopped checking balances, stopped trusting my own eyes. Because the alternative, admitting I'd been played, was too humiliating, so I doubled down on love. Cooked his favorite meals, bought him a cashmere scarf for Christmas, held his hand at the movies, and all the while Marcus was building a legal fortress around my name, brick by forged brick. He'd already filed the marriage. Now he was preparing the divorce. February 2025. He asked for my passport. "Planning our honeymoon," he said. "Bali, just you and me." I handed it over. He returned it a week later, slightly bent but intact. What I didn't know? He'd used it to verify my identity with a Nevada notary, to sign the divorce decree, to transfer my assets. The manipulation wasn't loud. It was a slow drip, each drop eroding my autonomy, until I was hollow enough to be filled with his lies. And I let him. Because at 68, after 7 years of silence, being wanted felt like being saved, even if the savior was a thief. The rain didn't stop for 3 days after I found the divorce papers. It drummed on my roof like 1,000 accusing fingers. I didn't sleep, didn't eat. Just sat at the kitchen table, the manila envelope open before me. The forged documents spread like evidence at a crime scene. On the 4th morning, I called the Washoe County Clerk's office. A woman named Diane answered. Patient, professional. I gave her my name, my social security number. She put me on hold for 2 minutes. When she came back, her voice was softer. "Ms. Moore, according to our records, you and Mr. Marcus Langley were married on October 17, 2023, at the Washoe County Courthouse. The marriage license was signed by both parties and notarized. The divorce was finalized on February 28, 2025, under uncontested proceedings." My throat tightened. But I wasn't there. I never signed anything. There was a pause. Then, "The court requires valid ID and in-person appearance for marriage. But, if fraud is suspected, you'll need to file a motion to vacate." I hung up. Felt the walls of my house closing in. That afternoon, I drove to my bank, Umpqua Bank on Division Street. I asked to speak to a manager, showed him the property settlement agreement, pointed to the line. Respondent agrees to transfer 50% of retirement assets, $42,800, to petitioner. The manager, a man named Carl, pulled up my account history. His face paled. "Ms. Moore, this transfer happened on March 1st, 2025, initiated online, verified with your password and security questions." He looked up. "Did you authorize this?" I shook my head, tears finally spilling. Marcus knew my mother's maiden name, my first pet, my high school mascot. He asked me all those fun quiz questions last Christmas. Carl nodded grimly. He used that to reset your online access, then transferred the funds to an external account, Langley Holdings LLC, based in Nevada. I left the bank with a printed transaction log and a numb heart. $42,800. Gone. Not stolen in a dramatic heist, but signed away by a ghost version of me, a name on paper, empty of consent. That night I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened Thomas's old filing cabinet, the one in the garage labeled taxes and legal. Buried beneath property deeds and insurance policies, I found it. My original Social Security card, my birth certificate, my passport, all still there. Untouched. Which meant Marcus had photocopied them, or worse, memorized the details, while I slept, while I cooked, while I trusted him with my life. I sat on the garage floor, surrounded by dust and memories, and finally let myself feel the truth. I hadn't been loved. I'd been targeted. Marcus didn't see a woman. He saw a profile. Widowed, no children homeowner. Steady retirement income. Lonely. I was the perfect mark, and I'd rolled out the welcome mat. The rage didn't come like a storm. It came like frost. Quiet, spreading, turning everything brittle. I went inside, washed my face, made a cup of tea. Earl Grey, no honey. Then I picked up my phone and dialed the one person who'd warned me about Marcus from the start. Marjorie Chen answered on the second ring. My neighbor for 22 years, retired nurse, widow, sharp as a tack. She'd met Marcus once, at a garden party in 2023. Afterward, she'd pulled me aside. Evie, that man's eyes don't match his smile. Be careful. I hadn't listened. Now I needed her. Marjorie, I said, voice steady. I've been defrauded, legally married and divorced without my knowledge. $42,800 stolen. She didn't gasp, didn't say, I told you so. Just, come over, now. Bring every document you have. By 7 p.m., we were at her kitchen table, white oak, worn smooth by decades of meals and memories. I laid out everything. The divorce decree, the fake marriage certificate, bank statements, Marcus's loan, receipts, screenshots of his vague texts Marjorie read in silence for 40 minutes. Then she looked up, eyes blazing. This isn't just theft, Evie. This is identity fraud, elder financial abuse, and criminal impersonation. In Oregon and Nevada, that's a felony. She called her nephew, Daniel Chen, a prosecutor with the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office. He agreed to meet us the next morning, pro bono. The next day, Daniel reviewed the evidence. This is textbook romance scam meets legal identity theft, he said. He used your trust to gain access, then used Nevada's lenient marriage laws to create a legal fiction. He outlined my options. File a police report for fraud and identity theft. Petition Nevada court to vacate the marriage and divorce, freeze all accounts, and place a credit freeze, file a civil suit for restitution. But it'll take months, he warned. Maybe years. I don't care, I said. I want him erased from my life. Legally, financially, completely. Over the next 3 days, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I acted. Day 1. Filed a police report with Portland PD, placed fraud alerts with all 3 credit bureaus, closed my joint online banking access, changed every password, security question. PIN Day 2. Hired a civil attorney specializing in elder fraud. Linda Ruiz, 250-hour worth every penny. Sent a certified letter to Marcus. All contact is terminated. Any further communication will be treated as harassment. Contacted Social Security to report potential ID theft. Day 3. Filed a motion to vacate void marriage in Washoe County Court. Submitted an affidavit. I did not appear at the courthouse on October 17, 2023. I did not sign any document. I was never married to Marcus Langley. Linda handled the legal filings. Marjorie handled the emotional armor. And I handled the silence. Because for the first time, I wasn't waiting for Marcus to explain, apologize, or return. I was building a wall, brick by legal brick, between my past and my future. And on the fourth night, as I watered my peonies under a clear spring sky, I realized something. I wasn't afraid anymore. The woman who gave her social security number to a man who called her my Evie was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew love doesn't ask for your keys. It respects your locks. Marcus didn't know I knew. Not at first. On March 20th, 10 days after my birthday, he showed up at my door, wearing the cashmere scarf I'd bought him, smiling like nothing had happened. "Evie," he said, arms open. "Missed you. Been swamped with work." I didn't step back, didn't invite him in. Just stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes cold. "Get off my property, Marcus." He blinked. "What? What's wrong?" I held up the divorce decree. Explain how I was divorced from you when I never agreed to marry you." His smile faltered. "Oh, that? It was just paperwork, darling. For tax purposes. You know how it is." "Tax purposes don't require $42,800 from my retirement," I said. "Or a forged signature." His face went pale, then angry. "You're overreacting. I was protecting us." "Protecting yourself," I corrected. "From what? Poverty? Boredom? Your own conscience?" He stepped closer. "Evie, listen." "I'm done listening," I said. "I filed a police report. I've petitioned to vacate the marriage. And if you come near this house again, I'll get a restraining order." He laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "You think anyone will believe you? A lonely old woman spinning stories?" "I don't need them to believe me," I said. "I have documents, bank records, witnesses, and a prosecutor." His eyes widened. "You went to the DA?" "I went to war," I said quietly. "And you just lost." He stood there, stunned, as if seeing me for the first time, not as a victim, but as a threat. Then he turned and walked away. Didn't look back, but the real confrontation came 3 days later. My phone rang at 2:17 a.m. "Unknown number," I answered. "Evie." His voice was low, desperate. "Please, call off the lawyers. I'll pay back the money. Just don't ruin me." "How much?" I asked. "What? How much did you steal? Total." Silence. Then, $42,800. That's it. "Liar," I said. "You took $30,800 before that. The car, the fake investment, the medical bills. Total, $73,600. He didn't deny it, just whispered, "I was in trouble. I needed a fresh start." "And you thought stealing from a 68-year-old widow was your fresh start?" I didn't yell, didn't cry, just stated the truth like a judge. "That's not a fresh start, Marcus. That's a prison sentence." He begged, pleaded, offered to make it right. I let him talk for 3 minutes. Then I said, "You had 3 years to be honest. You chose lies. Now live with the consequences." And I hung up. The next morning I got a text. "Marcus, you'll regret this. No one will ever love you again." I screenshot it, added it to my evidence file, then blocked the number. But Marcus wasn't done. On April 2nd, he sent a certified letter from a mediator in Reno. "Ms. Moore, Mr. Langley is willing to settle for $20,000 and mutual non-disclosure." I shredded it. On April 10th, he showed up at the library while I was reading to preschoolers. Stood in the back, arms crossed, watching me. I didn't flinch. Finished the story, gave the children their butterscotch candies, then walked straight to him. "You have 10 seconds to leave," I said, "or I call campus security." He left. The dominoes began to fall. On April 18th, Linda called. "Washoe County granted your motion. The marriage is void ab initio," as if it never existed. On April 25th, the bank froze Marcus's external account. On May 3rd, the DA filed criminal charges: identity theft, Class C felony; fraudulent use of personal information, Class B; elder financial abuse, aggravated. Marcus fled Portland, left his downtown condo, changed his phone number, but the warrant followed him. I heard he was spotted in Spokane, working at a car dealership under a fake name. Then in Boise, living in a motel. Then silence. I didn't care, because justice wasn't about watching him fall. It was about knowing he couldn't touch me again. And that was enough. 6 months later, the first peonies of summer bloomed in my garden, deep pink, velvety, heavy with dew. I knelt in the soil, gloves on, pruning shears in hand, and breathed in the scent of earth and lavender. My hands were stained with dirt, my knees ached, and for the first time in years, I felt whole. It was September 12th, 2025. 6 months since I'd found the divorce papers. 6 months since I'd stopped being Evelyn Moore, the victim, and became Evelyn Moore, the woman who fought back. So much had changed. I'd sold my bungalow on Hawthorne, not out of fear, but choice. The memories were still there, but the walls no longer felt like a cage. I bought a smaller sunlit condo in the Alberta Arts District, 2 bedrooms, one for me, one for guests, though I rarely had any. The second room, I turned it into a painting studio. Every Sunday morning, I mixed watercolors and painted landscapes of places I'd never been. The cliffs of Big Sur, the lighthouses of Maine, the lavender fields of Provence. Thomas and I had always talked about traveling. We never did. But now at 68, I was booking my first solo trip. 2 weeks in Nova Scotia this October. Just me, the ocean, and the sound of my own thoughts. I'd also reconnected with life. Every Tuesday, I still volunteered at the library, but now I led a memoir writing group for seniors. We met in the back room, sipped tea, and shared stories of love, loss, and second chances. One woman, Ruth, 72, told us how she'd left her husband after 50 years. Another, Lena, 65, spoke about rebuilding her life after her son stole her inheritance. I didn't share my story at first, but one rainy afternoon, I did. When I finished, Ruth reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You didn't just survive, Evie," she said. "You rewrote your ending." Marjorie and I met every Thursday for dim sum at Wong's garden. She'd helped me plant rosemary and sage in my new balcony garden. "For Thomas," she'd said, "and for you." We didn't talk about Marcus much. When we did, it was with quiet clarity, not bitterness. "He was arrested in Boise last month," she told me over steamed dumplings. "Charged with identity theft in 3 states. They found fake IDs, marriage licenses, even a forged will." She shook her head. "Turns out you weren't his first, or his last." I didn't flinch, didn't feel pity, just relief. Because justice wasn't about his punishment. It was about my peace. Financially, I was rebuilding. The bank returned $38,200 of the stolen $42,800, thanks to the fraud investigation and Marcus's frozen account. The rest? Gone. But I didn't mourn it. That money had bought me a brutal education. Trust is earned, not given to charming smiles. I hired a financial advisor, Priya Sharma, sharp, kind, and relentless. She helped me restructure my retirement, set up automatic savings, and even opened a small investment account. "You're not just surviving, Evelyn," she said. "You're thriving." And emotionally, I was free. Before Marcus, I measured my worth by whether someone chose me. Now, I measured it by whether I chose myself. I no longer rehearsed conversations in my head. I no longer checked my phone 17 times a day. I no longer apologized for taking up space. I cooked for one, but set the table with my good china. I bought myself flowers every Friday. I took long walks in Peninsula Park, watching the sunset over the rose garden, and didn't feel lonely, just present. As for Marcus, the DA's office kept me updated. He'd pleaded no contest to elder financial abuse and identity theft, sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, plus $73,600 in restitution. His girlfriend in Boise? She'd been his accomplice, posing as his wife in Idaho to drain another widow's accounts. I didn't attend the sentencing. Didn't need to. His absence from my life was punishment enough, for him, not for me. Once in July, I got a letter from him. Handwritten, desperate. "Evie, I made a mistake. I'm not a bad man. Please forgive me. I miss you." I read it once. Then I placed it in the fireplace, watched it curl into ash. No anger, no sadness, just finality. Because the truth was, I didn't care anymore. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. My house no longer felt like a tomb. My name no longer felt like a weapon he could wield. And my heart? It beat steady, strong, and mine. I'd found a new kind of family too. Not blood, but choice. Marjorie. Ruth and Lena from the memoir group. Priya, my advisor. Even Officer Diaz from the Portland PD, who checked in every month. "How's my favorite fraud fighter doing?" They saw me, not as Marcus's victim, but as Evelyn, teacher, gardener, painter, survivor. And for the first time since Thomas died, I felt like I belonged. Not to someone else, but to myself. Today, 9 months after that rainy birthday, I'm 68 years old, and happier than I've been in a decade. I don't miss the version of me who handed her Social Security card to a man who called her my Evie. I don't mourn the woman who believed love at her age was a miracle, even when it came wrapped in lies. That Evelyn served her purpose. She loved deeply, trusted openly, hoped fiercely. But she's gone now. And in her place stands someone wiser. A woman who knows that real love doesn't ask for your keys. It respects your locks. A woman who understands that loneliness is painful, but betrayal is a choice. A woman who finally chose herself and found freedom in the choosing. This story taught me something vital. Being wanted is not the same as being valued. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for your future, is to say, "You do not get to define me." If you're listening to this story and you see yourself in my reflection, giving your trust to someone who only sees your utility, handing your life to a charming stranger, believing that love means surrender, please hear this. You are not foolish. Your kindness is not weakness. Your loneliness is not a flaw. But you don't owe your soul to someone who only values your silence. Walking away from a toxic relationship isn't failure. It's courage. And rebuilding your life after betrayal isn't starting over. It's beginning for the first time. I didn't lose myself that night in Reno. I lost the illusion that Marcus ever saw me. And in that loss, I found myself. Freedom sometimes demands a price, but that price is always cheaper than living with a dead soul. Did you like this story? I'd love to hear from you. What city are you watching from? Let's meet in the comments. Your words might be the lifeline someone else needs today. If this story touched you, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more people find stories like this and reminds them they're not alone. You can support this channel by sending a super thanks, so I can keep bringing you real, raw, empowering life stories every week. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell. You'll see 2 new story suggestions on your screen right now. Definitely watch them. They might speak directly to your heart. Thank you for listening with your whole self. See you in the next life story. With love and respect,